Hey, hello guys, my name is Mia Marie and you are currently watching my Synastry Compatibility series where I go through all the 12 signs, sun signs, and how they get along. Now, as a general disclaimer, we reference so much more than just the sun sign for compatibility, but the importance of the sun and understanding someone's sun sign and accepting it and supporting it is that the sun sign describes the motives, the behaviors, the experiences that contribute to someone's sense of sanity. So we're not talking so much about what someone needs emotionally or how they flirt or what makes them great in bed, all of those very, romantic topics. We're talking about how to support someone's vitality, someone's sense of self, and someone's healing human journey. So keep in mind that this is just a gentle introduction, and you can get so much more by booking a session with me or another fantastic astrologer. Sun in Aries. Someone who is born with their sun sign in Aries is here to establish a sense of self. Their entire life, their whole healing journey will be about them uncovering and establishing who they are. And they'll do this over and over again by putting themselves in situations where they must exercise courage. Their ultimate motive is to transform their desires into will. I really want this job. I really want this partner. I really want to move here. I really want to start this business, and then doing it, but keeping their higher self in mind. So because Aries is step one, it seems kind of strange, but it's the child of the zodiac, but at the same time, there are strong correlations with leadership. So you'll find, because in order to establish a sense of self, you have to learn how to lead a life. And that's what Aries is going to be doing the whole time. And so there is a quality with leadership of them being bossy. And this is interpreted in two different ways. If you're someone who's being bossed around, you're like, dude, let me make my own choices. You're being a little too domineering. You're not listening to my ideas. I feel like I'm just a pawn on your chessboard. But when an Aries is bossing you around, it's because they either care about you, they care about what you're doing and what the outcome is, or they care about both. And what you have to understand is that the way that they are talking to you is the way that they're talking to themselves. And so for them to give you directives or even to talk to you no, this is what it is, that's their way of loving, is by leading. And it's hard for them to differentiate. Another thing that you'll notice when you're dating an Aries is that when you're sharing stories about your day or something that you've overcome or something that you're excited about, a challenge point, they're going to bring it back to themselves. And it seems selfish, right? You're sitting here trying to decompress. You want that camaraderie, you want that partnership, and they just kind of steal the mic and start talking about who they are and their experiences. And again, it's because as they're looking at you, it's almost like a mirroring effect. As they're looking at you, they're having a better understanding of who they are, what your place is in the world, but also what their place is in the world. And so, and the same thing is if you continue to talk about yourself for extended periods of time, they have the greatest tolerance for it because they do the same thing. So it's not so much that they don't care about you. The motive is what drives people, and it's the sun sign. So what's driving this person constantly is to figure out who they are in multiple different situations. Being a fire sign means that they like being activated and energized and inspirational and motivating. And with the fire being expressed through Aries, all of that energy goes towards the self. It does. It goes towards the self. And so if you are dating an Aries and they are not motivating you, they're not pushing you to accomplish your goals, they're not trying to take leadership in your relationship, then something is off. If they're wanting to stay on the couch all day, if they're not exercising, if they are feeling low, fatigued, then something is happening in their emotional body that's preventing them from keeping their pilot light lit. A lot of the times, these are people who Aries are extreme, so the pilot light is just out. Another thing is they don't like a plan. I'm speaking specifically just about Aries sun. If they have different placements, like a moon in Capricorn or a Venus in Capricorn, they're going to love a plan. But if we're just talking specifically about what this person's ego needs as it's developing in lockstep with the soul, this is somebody who needs to not plan. Why? Because they're trying to build courage. They have to put themselves in new situations where they don't have any tools. They just have themselves, their mind, and their gut. And it's by consciously meeting each one of these challenges and overcoming them and maybe getting knocked down and getting back up, they're learning that they can trust in themselves, that they're capable, that they can function independently. And they learn who they are through those trials and tribulations, which is why they don't need a plan. Oh, and another thing is they feel very comfortable if you are completely yourself. They don't want you to be polite. They don't want you to be proper. I mean, again, if you have like those Capricorn placements or something that's a little bit more earthy, then they will prioritize those things, but solely the sun, they feel comfortable when you're cursing or when you're loud or when you're showing them expressions, because it gives them permission to be themselves totally. They can relax. And not only that, they can accept you as you are, and you can accept them as they are. Aries is ruled by Mars, and so it's competitive. Now, this is where in love, they kind of get a bad rep, because yet again, there is this energy that's trying to manifest itself in real life, and it's kind of showing up in the wrong way. We're talking about love, right? Aries is ruled by Mars, and so it's competitive by nature. Its way of flirting, its way of playing, its way of connecting with you truly is wanting to play sports, wanting to beat you at those sports. Kind of like anything you can do, I can do better type attitude. That's how they show love. And the best way that I can use an example is like soldiers at war. They sit and they taunt and make fun of each other relentlessly. They throw out the jokes, but they will, out in the world, die for you. They will show up for you in every which way that they can. Now, some deal breakers for Aries. Anyone who encroaches on their autonomy. The opposite of Aries is Libra. Libra is all about partnership and companionship. So you can see how in love, we're working from a deficit, right? Aries is not programmed inherently for partnership because it doesn't even really know who it is yet. But anyone who's like, oh, we like this, Aries will be very quick to tell you, like, that's a you thing. This is you. This is me. And it's not because they don't like you and they want to separate from you. It's because they don't want to become one. They want to understand the difference. That's what their whole life goal is about, is understanding the difference between them and reality. And so if you are wanting to be their companion, or if you want to constantly run errands with them or do things with them, it's going to repulse them. They don't need a sidekick. They mob alone. Another deal breaker for Aries is not prioritizing them. Now that sounds kind of strange given everything that I just said, but an Aries can tell when you're not number one, when they're not number one, right? It's that competitive nature. If they feel like you are prioritizing someone else, they're pretty accepting of like work and outside accomplishments, but if you're prioritizing someone over them, done. And they're also a little flickery with their flame. So sometimes the relationship is really hot and heavy, and it's important that they keep that fire lit, but you can find an inconsistency in their energy depending on how they're feeling internally and what you're giving them. If you are not making them feel as if they are important, that flame can come off real quick. Sun in Aries is also unapologetically itself unless it's being shamed over and over again for the way that they're trying to get their motives met or their needs met. And the best example that I'll use is like a toddler in a grocery store. Toddlers don't want to be at a grocery store. They don't see the need for it, right? We see the need, but they don't see the need. And so what do? They throw a tantrum. They don't care who sees. They don't care what people think about them. All they can think is, I don't like this. I would rather be somewhere else. And I'm going to make it very clear to the person who I'm involved with. And so you will find yourself managing tantrums with Aries from time to time. Sun in Aries is bold, courageous, independent, vivacious, feisty. They have the zest for life that is unquenchable unless something is seriously wrong. And they're also a spiritual warrior of types. And so you can expect that if you have an Aries on your team, that they are going to protect you, that they're going to make sure that you're leading a life that you're proud of, that they're proud of. They have your back to the fullest extent. Someone who is born with the sun in Virgo is here to purify. Now, it doesn't always come off that way, and if you don't have a trained eye or ear, you can feel judged and criticized when a Virgo is around, because what they do, it's like their love language. They listen to you, they watch what you're doing, and they point out what's not working, what you're doing wrong, and what you can do better. And the reason why they want to do this in every area of their life, not only towards their partner, is because when you fix all of the things that are wrong, then you are often left purified, clean, clear. You're able to think clearly. You're able to connect with soul. There's often a spiritual component to a Virgo. They're the opposite of Pisces, and they are big on acts of service. That's often their love language. They have a huge focus on health, routines, systems. They are quick thinkers. It can be really hard to calm their body down at the end of the night. That's how it manifests. It's ruled by Mercury, and so they have an amazing capacity to analyze information and to synthesize information, but it can sometimes manifest in the nervous system as being like jittery or on edge. They can kind of sleep with one eye open. Virgo is the second earth sign, and so it takes Taurus's competence, skill set, and confidence, self-confidence, and it goes, okay, how can we apply this to serve more people? How can we market this? How can we sell this? What systems do we need to have in place? What processes does this require? They like to cut labor in half, but they're also very laborious at the same time. They enjoy working and they like being of service, but they just want to cut the steps in half. They like hacking things, taking shortcuts. They will study information. As I said, they're ruled by Mercury, and so they'll study patterns until they have them mastered and figured out, and then they'll find a way to advance the system. Pure, undisturbed Virgo is so neat and tidy. Now, I know very many Virgos who are a complete, it's chaos. In their mind, it's chaos, but it's because of the other placements. Pure Virgo will color coordinate things. Everything will have a label. Everything has a place. Everything has a home, because that way things run efficiently. If there's stuff on the floor, they can't move as quickly as they want. Now, another side to Virgo is when they're overstimulated. What they will do is they'll turn to Pisces qualities. They will turn to escapist tendencies, and this can manifest in multiple different ways. The most obvious one that I've seen is Virgos can often drink quite heavily when they are overwhelmed. So if you see a Virgo really throwing them back, it's because they are taking on so much, they're doing so much, and they're probably not giving themselves the pat on the back that they deserve. In fact, that is the one thing that they do not do is they accomplish things, and as soon as it's accomplished, they're like, yeah, I was supposed to do that. It wasn't that big of a deal. And so there is never that moment of wow, like they don't have a sense of accomplishment after they do something. They feel like they just have to keep going, and they have a to-do list, and they keep adding to it, and they just keep going nonstop. And so it's really helpful for them, and I'll go into this when I talk about specific signs. It's really helpful for them to have a partner who makes them pause and appreciate themselves. The risk that Virgo runs, where they can kind of get confused, is that they want to be of service, but they oftentimes put themselves in the position of being a servant to a job, to a partner, and it takes multiple experiences of them just running on E before they recognize that there is a way to be available to people and to be helpful and to make an impact, but not at the expense of their mental health and their physical well-being. They will do anything for the person that they love. But should they? Like that's the balance. Should they? When I think of Virgo, I think of that movie Holes, and that character who's like, I can fix that. They always show up, I can fix that, I can do that. Oh, gorgeous. So let's talk about some deal breakers as it relates to a Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign. Though it is changeable, mutable, flexible, understanding, empathetic, tolerant, it will not tolerate someone who is duplicitous and untrustworthy. They don't like someone who is unreliable. They won't tolerate, say, someone who has someone who is like a bee, going from flower to flower. They want commitment. They want loyalty. They want someone who is in it for the long haul. Because they are so dedicated and so loyal, they don't like mind games, and they do not tolerate emotional manipulation. If you're going to be playing those games, they're going to be very quickly disinterested, and they will tell you. They'll be like, you know what? No, you're immature and you have tons of work to do, and they'll list all of the reasons why they can't be with you, and then they'll just walk away. This is not an absolute truism for every Virgo in the world, but from my personal experience, I find that Virgos are always in a job that requires serving the community. And this can manifest as something as simple as like working as a mailman or being a nurse or being an esthetician. Like there's some skill that they develop that allows them to be of service to the community. But largely they're in healthcare, or they have a strong interest in health. Like how good is the quality of food that you're eating? How balanced is your diet? They're all over vitality, health. It goes back to like that they're represented by the Virgin, like Mother Teresa, someone who shows up for others, who has like a heart that never gets tired. So I would be curious to see, if your Virgo is in that. Aries, Sun in Virgo, elementally opposite. You would think that they wouldn't get along. An astrological text probably tells us that it's not a good idea. However, I beg to differ based upon my personal practice and experience. Aries is a fire sign. It's an initiator. It's a take charge kind of person. It's learning how to lead a life. It's learning how to trust in its talent, skills, and abilities, which is why oftentimes Aries just kind of jump in and figure it out along the way. They are an extroverted sign, which means that when they wake up, they got to start moving to get their pilot light lit, or they're going to burn themselves out, or they're just going to be depressed and lay on the couch all day and not do anything. On the opposite hand, Virgo is an earth sign. It is introverted, which means that when it wakes up, it is ready to go. Its mind and its body. In fact, it has a very overactive mind and it manifests physically and makes them quite jittery. And so they're typically up early and either exercising or, devoted to their job. So that's a very key word for Virgo is devoted. And Virgo is devoted to Aries. And so it uses its competence, its skills, and its heart to serve its partner, irregardless of the sign. Here is someone who needs to take charge, and here is someone who is here to be of service, not a servant. This would be the one risk between the two of them. Aries being so bossy, Virgo wanting to please and never being heard. So in an ideal space, though, which is really what I've witnessed with these two, Aries has ideas that need a little bit of follow through, that need a little bit of structure, that need attention to detail. And Virgo is like, okay, sure, I will do all of the details, and let's do it. And so it's kind of like partners in crime. I see you guys getting along. And in fact, maybe that's what I would call this, is partners in crime. There isn't a lot of water. There isn't a lot of emotions. Neither one of them are particularly emotional. So while they will be busy, while they will like doing things together, while this relationship looks productive and there's simpatico and there's flow, I do see the area of challenge being that there is nothing to make them open up to each other. They don't have a lot in common, and that's their strength, and that's also their weakness. Aries brings the fire, the excitement, the positivity, and Virgo brings the structure to all of the things that Aries wants to do, and it makes Virgo's life more exciting, and it makes Aries' life more organized. And so, I don't think that there's going to be a moment outside of like exercise or going to a music festival, again, activities. I don't see a heart-to-heart conversation happening, and I don't think it would bother either one of you, but I question what that looks like long-term. Now, there are some challenge areas. Virgos are born with these beautiful eyes that see the flaw in everything, and their love language is constructive criticism. They tell you what's wrong. They tell you what needs to be fixed or worked on, and they're doing this in effort to purify your life, to make you better, to heal you in a way. They are a healer. Virgo is on the axis of service. The other side is Pisces. And so, that is kind of what makes them feel as if they're taking good care of you. And because they have their eyes on the flaws, it can make them a negative Nancy. It can make them appear as a negative Nancy in the eyes of an Aries. Aries is very excitable. It is energized. It is vivacious. And it wants to have a good time. And so if it's pulling Virgo along, they're out dancing, Virgo's going to be like, oh my God, like this is too loud and this person's too close to me. And they start focusing on the particulars. And Aries is like, life is messy. Let's get messy. Let's just be messy. Let's just be. And so I do see Aries kind of being like, only in concentrated doses, or just having that feedback for Virgo. Virgo might look at Aries and find them to be a little bit selfish or self-centered, as if they're not paying attention to what's important for them. Because in a Virgo's mind, they are constantly trying to, it also feeds them, right, to take care of their partner. But Aries isn't the type of person to, unless there's other Earth, like Taurus, isn't the type of person to turn around and be like, what do you think about this? What would you like to do? Like, let's just forget about what my ideas are. And another thing, because Aries is a cardinal sign and Virgo is a mutable sign, there's a lack of fixed energy between the two of you, which means that concrete plans can be hard to establish. You know, like, we're doing this and that is that. Virgo will be going with the flow of things, and Aries will be constantly initiating new things. So this can kind of lead to a whole bunch of unfinished projects or just things not lasting, it being like a spurt of energy and then it goes out. The way that Aries benefits a Virgo is really straightforward to me. Virgo is someone who is helpful and wants to show up for their friends whenever they are in need, or will come into work if someone spontaneously or unexpectedly calls out, even if it's their only day off. It's ready to, again, be of service. And Aries will look at that and be like, abso-fucking-lutely not. You've been working like crazy. This is so inappropriate. They should be paying you overtime, or you should get a promotion. And it gives that fire that Virgo lacks to kind of, self-identify or say, wait, actually, how does this make me feel? Aries is so focused on self. Virgo is so focused on others. And so Virgo can kind of become invisible or can become overwhelmed by the tasks that it perceives before it. And Aries is that person who's like, not my circus, not my monkeys. We're going out. We're having fun. You can put your to-do list on hold. I promise we'll get up early and do it tomorrow. And that's another positive thing between the two of them is Aries needs to move to generate energy, and Virgo has an excessive amount of anxiety that it stores in its body. So exercising with these two are really good. I don't know if I would see you guys particularly planning, because neither one of you has an eye for travel unless there are other aspects that would indicate that, like a Gemini, like an Aries with a Gemini, or a Virgo with, I don't know if with Virgo. But any hoozles, these two like to be on the move. And it will help balance them both. It will energize Aries and it will stabilize Virgo. But this is immediately what comes to my mind. You are so much more than just your sun sign. So if you would like to learn more either about your relationship or your personal birth chart, you can find me at wellandrising.com/services.